Today we have a very special guest joining us today. He is the former Ancient Aliens TV host for Tucson, Arizona, as well as the leading UFO investigator in Phoenix, Arizona. He runs a Facebook Live show called Petroglyphs in the Sky. I would call him the king of the Petroglyphs and one of the best UFO hunters in the United States.
Jeff Woolwine, the first person to do this.
Please give a nice insertion welcome, Jeff Woolwine.
Hello and welcome back to another UFO show, Petroglyphs in the Sky UFO show. How is everybody doing today? Hope you guys are doing great. So we have a killer show for you tonight. We're going to talk about this one UFO sighting that I filmed back in 2018. And so that's going to be pretty cool. It's one of my favorites. And let me make sure everything's working here, because last time we had audio trouble. Okay, yep, the mic looks like it's on, so we're good. Okay, and I'm also going to show you, like I do tours on South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona. And so there's a tour that I did with a good friend of mine, his name is Chase. Him and his daughter Lacey. We went up there on South Mountain and talked about the petroglyphs, and you're going to see that here tonight. And that's always fun. I love hiking South Mountain. I love being up there, because every time you go out there, you always find something new. And being an amateur archaeologist such as myself, I can spot something out of place a mile away. And if I find something new, boy, I'm on it, dude. And this is how I was able to find some of the tombs that are out there on South Mountain. So we're going to talk about some of those petroglyphs. I'm going to talk about some of the petroglyphs that you can find in my book. And so welcome to the show. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, Jeff Woolwine, Petroglyphs in the Sky. And find me on YouTube, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky. And please like and share and get this information out to the world. And without your guys' help, this show would not be possible. So I just want to say thank you so much for everything. Okay, so let's get into it. So I will be doing, excuse me, those of you who are on my my Connect channel, Facebook page, look for this Connect page. I'll be doing a seance tonight. So those of you who want to join the Petroglyphs in the Sky Connect ghost hunting page is more than welcome to. I will be doing a live seance tonight, probably around 11 o'clock Arizona time. So yeah, hope to see you guys there. That ought to be really fun. It was pretty cool last time. So that thing was pretty accurate what was going on. So yeah, it was great. Okay, so I want to give a shout out to my friend Sean out there on Cyber Scans of Australia. If you guys have any problems with your internet, somebody tapping in on you or just want to have something checked out, make sure that you contact Cyber Scans of Australia and contact Sean. He'll hook you up. Make sure you go out there and check out my book, The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix, Volume 1. Now, this book right here isn't your average, everyday UFO book. Excuse me. It talks about the lost history of Phoenix, Arizona, that I dug up over the years. And I from hiking on South Mountain, finding the tombs, finding the altars, understanding the petroglyphs, and then going to find the information that verified everything that I was discovering out there in the Phoenix Library. So this is 80 years that hasn't been told to the public. And this is a true story of Phoenix, Arizona. It explains what these UFOs are from the Native Americans' point of view and through the rock art point of view, and what the rock art, the petroglyphs, the 1,000-plus-year-old rock art talks about, which we're going to talk about tonight, explains on what these Phoenix Lights really is and what is really going on in our skies. So yeah, this is a great book. Make sure you get your copy today. And it's full of great stuff. You can find it on my website. My website's down below there, p9.hosting.prod.com/@petroglyphsinthesky.com/. Now you can find all the information there. You can see some of the tombs. There's a tomb that I posted on there that verifies what Charles Holbrook is talking about. There's some information about Charles Holbrook on my website. And you can see what he's saying about the landscape, what he's talking about South Mountain, formerly known as Mount Sapoa, Mountain of Mercy. You can see what he says about South Mountain. You can see what he says about these spirits of the earth and sky. Not crafts, not little gray guys running around, but spirits, according to the Native Americans. So yeah, check out my website, check out my book, and let me know what you think, man. So hopefully you will like it. Okay, so there was a guy, forgive me if I pronounce his name wrong, Ronnie Partel Jr. And he made a comment on my YouTube page under one of my latest videos there. And he was asking about, excuse me, some of the petroglyphs, some of the Native American sites that the military has, now made their military base on, like some of these sacred Indian sites that the military has put their bases on, and also some of these Indian burial grounds that people have been building on, and and for instance, all of his question is on my Facebook page right now, Petroglyphs in the Sky. It's on my wall. You can check out all his questions and everything else like that. But I want to verify, or I just want to comment to you guys on the things that me and him kind of discussed. And as far as like the military putting bases on holy land, holy Indian tribal land, things like that, stuff that's off the reservation, stuff that we accumulated, over the time, and to keep people away from this land. That is one area in why they do that. There's a lot of reasons why, because this is hush hush stuff. What's really here? What's really here as far as these UFOs and what we're seeing in the skies and our true history. Our true history comes from what the Native Americans say. I mean, after all, we must listen to them because they were the first ones on this land, right? So they must know what they're talking about, right? And so the government knows about this, especially during President Roosevelt's time. I mean, now we know that he was in a wheelchair and he couldn't get around very well. Back then, that was, nobody knew about that. So he sent his wife out to check out America. And when she did, she came back and says, oh my gosh, look what the Native Americans are saying about this land. Look at the sacrifice. Look at the blood's going on, the blood pouring down the rocks here. Look at what these demonic creatures that these, Indians were talking about, these spirits. Look at what's carved on these mountains here. Look at the giants. Look what this America is really coming from. And, Roosevelt, he didn't want any part of that. He's like, no, I'm going to make this, the United States. I'm going to make this, a family-friendly land. And one of the ways to do that, especially during the Depression, when everybody needed a job, he hired the CCC, the Civil Conservation Corps, and he hired them on here in Phoenix, Arizona. And 300 young men were hired and lived on South Mountain for about 2.5 years before World War II broke out. And what they were doing was there's a lot of mines out there. They were looking for gold. They were looking for silver. Matter of fact, they pulled about $60,000 worth of gold and silver and precious metals out of South Mountain. They constructed new hiking trails, and they put up ramadas and swing sets for the kids and barbecue areas and stuff like that. And they also destroyed petroglyphs. They blew them up, especially the ones when it's talking about like flying snake men and demonic creatures and the Phoenix lights and these UFOs that we see in the sky and sacrificing and all this crazy stuff. They looked at that and are like, no, this needs to be a family-friendly park. And the kids playing around and some demonic creature is carved over there on the rock out there. We can't have that. So yeah, they actually went in there and they blew up a lot of petroglyphs on South Mountain and a lot of petroglyphs, around the United States, that the public has access to. So if you come to a hiking area and you see some petroglyphs that have been destroyed, well, that's the reason. That's the reason because they're telling the story here. They're telling our history. All right, they're telling us about how these entities came down from heaven, came down from the sky, came up out of the ground, and they taught these people how to live. All right, this is all over the place. This is what each Indian tribe talks about: is these spirits helping them out in time of need. Okay, and in return, they worship these things as gods. They were spirits. This is the reason why, especially when we see these ceremonial dances, with the kachinas and especially the hoop dancers. Examine the hoop dancers. Look what they're doing. Okay, look at their attire. Look at their costumes. Look at the way they're dressed. They have crosses on them. They have crooked snakes. And look, they have wiggly ziggly lines and things like that. And look what they're doing with the hoops. Okay, they're taking these hoops and their formation. They're making, a lot. Sometimes Sometimes they make a snake, right? Sometimes they make an orb and they're hanging on the orb. Sometimes, they put one orb here and one over there. It's talking about morphine. It's talking about shape-shifting entities. They're spirits. They're gods. This is exactly what the hoop dancers are doing, is telling us through their dance, through their attire, through their ceremonies. All right, they're shape-shifting. They're taking the hoops. They're making shapes with them. All right, and a lot of them are snakes. Okay, a lot of them are eagles, right? Flying orbs, things like that. Okay, that's what we're doing here. So when it comes to these grounds, especially, okay, for instance, South Mountain. All right, what did they do? There's tombs up there, full of gold. Okay. That's verified through the park ranger, verified in the history of Phoenix, Arizona, locked away in the Phoenix Library, that you can learn about in my book. And every time I talk about this stuff on my shows, there's gold on South Mountain. Hello, there's tombs on South Mountain. Look at my website, dude. Look at that tomb that's on there. All right, there is something buried there. Holbrook says that there's gold there. All right, look at the altars. You can find the altars in my book. Okay, look at the altars. Okay. So all this crazy stuff, they want you to stay on the trails. All right, you go off the trails, that's where the history is, right? That's where all this information is, right? They don't want you to get off the trails. They want you to stay on the trails and keep your nose to the sand and don't pay attention to what's going on around you, because the truth is out there, dude. You got to go out there and check it out. So what did they do? So stopping me, from going over there and digging up the tombs, verifying all this stuff, they made South Mountain a government park. Okay? The biggest government park, I believe, here in the United States. Why? Why did they do that, dude? Why pick on this mountain, right? Why can't you take a pebble home and take it home without you getting arrested? Why can't you go over there, and start digging a hole without you getting arrested? Why? Why is that? Right? It's because there's stuff there that they do not want you to know about. All right? The information's there. The tombs are there. The altars are there. The petroglyphs are there. It's telling us. Once you understand the rock art, you will understand the story out there, dude. All right? And it's not some peace-loving race of beings, the Hohokam Indians making canals and making peace with everybody and being a peace-loving people for 1,000 years. No, dude. This shit goes deep. We're talking about giants here. We're talking about sacrificing here. We're talking about these Phoenix Lights, these entities, not spaceships, but living creatures, man. Coming down out of the sky, coming up out of the ground, dude. Coming out of these spiral doorways, dude. That's what's going on here. That's the truth. That's what's really here, And what? Are they going to go tell you about that? No, man. They're not going to tell you. They're suppressing it. They're covering this up. All right. And one of the ways to do it is to put, either make the mountain or an area off limits to the public, or they put military bases on them. Now, my last show, I talked about how Hole in the Rock in Phoenix, Arizona is not a natural mountain. In my opinion, when you go over there and just touch that rock, everything about that whole hilltop, if you will, is fake. All right, it's man-made to me, okay? And to me, I believe the giants made that mountain. All right, there's a hole in the top of that hill there. That's why they call it Hole in the Rock. And it's oriented towards the east, right? It's oriented towards the east, towards the summer equinox, solstice, and equinox, things like that. The summer solstice and the summer equinox and the autumn, that sun will come right up between the Four Peak Mountains, okay? And come up out of the Four Peak Mountains and come right over that hole, dude. It's aligned with that hole. Come on, is that coincidence? No, this is for a purpose, okay? That's for a purpose. That shadow, that sun will come through that hole. The shadow will cast the shadow beam on the ground. And at 12 in the afternoon, when the sun is in the middle of the sky, it will cast a shadow down on a secret tomb. That's the secret, right? And what's in front of that mountain? Okay, because it's east, right? It's east. I mean, when you look at South Mountain, We're going to talk about the burial grounds here. I'm just going to go a little bit ahead of myself. But, the Native Americans on South Mountain, they buried their dead on the east side, the holy side. That's where all the graves are to this day, on the east side of South Mountain from the Native Americans, from the Hohokams. Okay? And so what would be in front of that hole in the rock, that sacred giant mountain, giant-made mountain? I'm sure there's something there. Probably a massive tomb. And what stands there? What blocks us? A big chain link fence with barbed wire going around it and a military base sitting right there in front of that mountain, in front of the equinox morning sunrise. All right? They put a military base there. You can't get on that land. All those other hills and rocks and stuff, it's all in a gate. It's all in a fence. It's all military now. You can't go over there. Why? Because there's more to it. They barely let us have hole in the rock, dude. Oh, they don't care. Hole in the rock, they'll never figure it out. They just think it's a regular mountain and blah, blah, blah. No, dude, it's not. Look at the mountain. Go over there, feel it, hike it, understand it. Look where it's oriented towards the equinox, solstice, and sunrise, or the sunrise. Come on. Look at the piece that's hanging down from the hole that's still left there. On the ground there that came from that hole. It's in my book. It's in my last show. That's the reason they're keeping people off of it. Another reason too. Another way if they keep people off of it is like beehives. They put beehives in certain areas. From like caves and things like that. They put a beehive there so people can't get in there. That's the biggest deterrent ever. That'll keep people away. Put a beehive there. And let me tell you, I ran into a lot of beehives, man, exploring caves and things like that. And it really sucks because I really want to know what's in that cave, but I can't get to it because of the beehives. So that's just an example. All right, I'm going deeper into what my last conversation with Ronnie here. So I'm going a little bit deeper into the comments here because I feel it's a very good question. And I want you guys to understand this, what's going on here. So his next question was, people building structures, buildings, houses, apartments, and things like that on Indian burial ground. Well, as I said before, there's Indian burial grounds on the east side of South Mountain. When you Google Earth in Phoenix, Arizona on South Mountain, look on the east side of South Mountain. Now today you will see golf courses like all around that whole area there, all around South Mountain on the east side. All right, you'll see condominiums there, you'll see houses, you'll see Rustler's Roost restaurant up there on top of the little peak there on the hill on the east side of South Mountain. So that was all that wasn't there before. We all know that. That was a desert. Right, that was all rocky grounds and things like that. It was a cemetery. I found old maps in the Phoenix Library that documented where all the Hohokam canals were and where all the Hohokam Indian structures were. All the Hogans and where they lived at. And right there on the east side was the main source of where they used to live at. Right there on the east shore. And in this area where in 2004, I was filming the Phoenix Lights over that area, over that energy spot, over that natural energy spot. And what's there today? What's there now? An electrical power plant that's bored down into the fault line of South Mountain. That's the whole idea here. That's the whole reason why these entities, why these Phoenix Lights, why these UFO entities, these creatures is drawn to the South Mountain, to Phoenix, Arizona. It's because of these fault lines, these natural energy fault lines. They're absorbing the energy, they're absorbing the fusion. They absorb like this fusion effect. All right. Now they come in seasons. I don't know how many times I got to say this. They come in seasons. Okay. And this is the reason why, they follow the sun. Okay. When the sun gets in the right position in the sky over these natural energy spots, such as ley lines, fault lines, things like that, it opens up a door. It attracts these entities, these creatures to that power source. All right, to that energy source. They are there to absorb the energy. They are not there to put energy out. They are there to absorb energy. They are feeding off this energy. This is the reason why they have lights. They light up. Okay, it's not because they need a light to see where they're going in space. That's bullshit. Okay, these things are like, like fireflies. Look at the fireflies. Look at the lightning bugs. They light up, right? They light up, dude. It's them, right? They were created that way, exactly the way these beads are. They were created that way, and especially when they absorb the energy, they shine, dude. They're glowing like glistening selenite, like glistening coals, dude. Like plasma, man. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen these lights in the sky. It's like plasma up there, dude. It's like an energy up there, right? At nighttime, you can really see it, especially when you're zoomed in with your video camera and you're looking at this thing and it's like plasma. And it's just absorbing that energy, dude. During the daytime, you see this light in the sky. What is he doing? He's absorbing that energy. There's energy on the fault lines, on the ground. There's also energy in the sky. Okay, so when you see him in the sky, there's a spiral there. There's a doorway. There's a vortex in the sky. They're coming through that vortex. They're absorbing the energy. They're sparkling. They're glowing. They're saying, hey, look at me, dude. I'm sucking up energy, dude. And then they simply slowly go away into the vortex, into the door, right? That's it. That is the perfect example of what's going on in our world today. A lot of these other sky watchers, so-called UFO people, they don't understand this yet. Okay, so all these cable shows and things like that, they're just now learning this. Man, I learned this back in 2005. I was the first one to bring this to the UFO community. I did the UFO pilot, the UFO Hunter show. I did the pilot for the Ancient Aliens TV show. I did the History Channel on the UFO show. And matter of fact, this guy found me from one of the documentaries that I did. I'm on Netflix. I'm all over the place. I'm all over the internet. And you can search my information. I have always been saying this. I haven't changed. And since 2005, when I first discovered this, on why they're here at South Mountain, why they're here at certain energy spots, what's the reason for this? It's the energy. And are these spaceships? No, they're not spaceships, dude. They're not from Alpha Centauri. Oh my God, what do the natives say? The natives say that they live here. Oh my God, that's true. That's what the petroglyphs are talking about. These things are actually, this is their world too. And are they spaceships? No, these things are alive, dude. They're creatures, man. I was the first one to discover this in the United States. First one to bring this to the public, to the UFO community. And back then, they're like, oh, dude, you're nuts. You're crazy. This is the first time someone's ever said this before. You don't know what you're talking about. You're filming balloons. You're filming flares. You're filming trash. All this bullshit, dude. But I knew I was right. I stuck with my guns, and I'm still here today, and I'm still saying the exact same stuff that I was saying back in 2005. And you know what? Like 10, 15 years later, now, if you notice, like some of these ancient alien TV series and all these cable shows, they're just now they're just now bringing this to the public. They're just now finding this out about the energy, about the ley lines, right? About what if these things aren't crafts. Dude, I told them this back in 2005, man. They're not saying anything that no one has discovered first. But the only thing is that really pisses me off, they make you believe that they were the ones that discovered this, when in fact, they're not telling you who first discovered this and what was their source. And I'm sorry, I am the source. I was the one that did all this. I was the one that helped UFO Hunter Show get up on the air. I was the one that helped to get that Ancient Aliens TV series going on by going up on South Mountain, by showing the petroglyphs, by showing what is actually going on, matching the petroglyphs to these phoenix lights, to these entities in the sky. No one has ever done that, period. Oh my God, that's the first time in history anybody has successfully matched these creatures, these beings in the sky, to the petroglyphs carved on the rocks over 1,000 years ago. It was just a theory. It was a theory. We think the Native Americans carved UFOs on rocks, but no one has actually proved it yet. I did. I sat on that mountain for over 3 years, and I watched these beings come and go from that mountain. I understood the petroglyphs. I understood what they were talking about. I learned. Okay, I was going down one road, one way, looking at what everybody else is saying about the Phoenix Lights. Oh, a spaceship, a craft. But the evidence was taking me down another road, dude. And I'm sorry, I have to go what I can prove on where the evidence is taking me. The evidence is taking me down this other road saying, this is not a spaceship. This is not from Alpha Centauri. This is not from little gray guys running around with big eyes. These are living creatures. These are living entities. This is what the evidence lies. This is what the evidence holds. That's the road I'm taking you. This is the road I want to take you guys on. And look at the evidence. Look at the proof. Okay, don't take my word for it. Go out there and investigate the petroglyphs. Investigate your town. Investigate what's really going on here. Don't try and just take the advice of somebody on a cable show trying to get ratings, or someone trying to sell you a book for and movie tickets. When they haven't crossed their T's and dotted their I's, and they can't back up what they say. I can prove everything that I tell you here tonight and everything that I've ever said since 2005. It's all on the rocks. It's all in the history. I did it with the petroglyphs on the mountain. I discovered the tombs. I understand the petroglyphs. And I also found out that, and then I verified it through the park ranger from the 1930s, from the first park ranger out there in Phoenix, Arizona's library, dude. So I can back up everything I say. All right. So, okay. So there we go. Good question, Ronnie. Thanks, Guy. Hopefully I'll hear back from you. And you're awesome, brother. Thank you for checking out the show and everything else. And hopefully we can talk more, because I'm sure you have a lot more to say. Okay. So let's talk about these petroglyphs real quick. So the one of the things that really, baffles my mind is the archaeologist wants us to believe, well, the Hohokams was this a friendly, peace-loving race, that didn't make war with anybody, who lived here 1,000 years, and the masters of canal systems in the world, and they simply just, they disappeared, they migrated somewhere else because it got too hot, and that's the story of the Hohokam. That's what the Hohokam people here is in Phoenix, Arizona. They call these petroglyphs, and they want people to believe that. But when you look at the petroglyphs, this makes no sense. Okay, this makes no sense. Anybody with a half a brain, dude, use a brain, man. Okay, they went somewhere else. Where did they go? Right? Where'd they fucking go, dude? You can't answer that. There's no evidence on where they went. But they want you to believe they just migrated somewhere else. Oh, and also, they left their clothes behind. They left their pots behind. They left their weapons behind. They didn't take anything with them. They just went naked and they took off. They left everything here and they just left. That's what the government wants you to believe. That's what the city archaeologist wants you to believe. That they left everything here and just left. They'll be back. They're gone. Right. That's bullshit, dude. Even when me and you move, man, we take our belongings with us. You're right? Right? I know, dude. I know, right? But yeah, the Hohokams didn't. They left all their belongings here and simply vanished off the face of the earth. This goes along with the same tribes around the world, of other tribes around the world who were there and conquered their land for 1,000 years, and one day they simply disappeared. Same thing with the Hohokams. This is the same story with a lot of tribes around the world. They were there and then they disappeared. They were gone. Where did they go? Well, when you examine the petroglyphs, okay, and you understand the petroglyphs and you understand what these entities are and what the Phoenix Lights really is, and when you go talk to some of the Native Americans, who will talk about this, because there's a lot, that won't talk about this, because this is kind of like a taboo subject. Like, we're not really supposed to know about these things, to be honest with you. But they're here. We see them. We know they're here. There's something here. But because of their history, that's the reason why, the government, they know what's going on. But there's too many of us, that are seeing them, that now they're going to try to come out and tell us some kind of bullshit story. But the real story is, their history, dude, isn't a very good one. And that's the reason why they're not saying anything. There will never be disclosure. They might admit, oh yeah, there's something here, but that's about it. They'll never explain it. They'll never go in detail with you. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to go into detail and tell you what these things are and exactly what's going on here through history. through the petroglyphs, through what some of these Native Americans say about these Phoenix Lights, these entities, these giants, where we actually come from, the history of the United States land. It's not all peaceful, dude. This is the reason why, Roosevelt's wife went out there and she was just baffled on what the true history here was. The giants and the demonic creatures and the tombs and all this devil worship thing going around, right? Sacrifice, just like in Mexico, dude. The Mexicans, they're sacrificing people, throwing them off their pyramids, They have the pyramid of the sun, the pyramid of the moon, and they're watching the celestial sky and things like that. Dude, they're sky watchers. Why, man? Because they're looking for these entities. They're looking for Quetzalcoatl, man. And I can tell you, Quetzalcoatl is alive and well, and he's flying around in Phoenix, Arizona. I have filmed him many times. I have seen this flying serpent. That's what's here. That's what these petroglyphs are talking about. We're going to see some petroglyphs on this also, of Quetzalcoatl and the flying serpent. So when Holbrook got here, when Holbrook was living here, the first park ranger in the 1930s until the late 40s, when he passed away, he was like I said, the first park ranger, and the Native Americans trusted Charles, and they told him about these entities. They told him about these creatures. They told him how the Mayans were here along with the Hohokams, and how, what happened to the Hohokams, and how the survivors of this Holocaust that happened there in the Valley of the Sun, the witnesses, they piled their gold and they stuck them in tombs and they went back to Mexico, dude, because they saw something that terrified them. What did they see? What happened? Everything was cool for 1,000 years. All right, they're making their canal systems, and let me tell you, dude, it wasn't always a dried up area. Phoenix, Arizona it wasn't a desert back then. It was a tropical-like landscape. We can find the evidence on the waterfalls on the mountains around here in the Valley of the Sun. You can see the evidence from the weathering of the rocks up there high on the mountains. There was a lot of water here, dude. It wasn't dried up like these archaeologists want you to believe all these years. It is now. And what is the reason why it got dried up? It's because for 1,000 years, they worshiped these beings in the sky, these beings that came up out of the ground as gods, and they worshiped these things, and they performed sacrifice to these entities, to these beings, to their gods. They performed sacrifice. This kept the sun in motion. This kept the seasons going around in circles. This kept the balance in order. Until, for some reason, after 1,000 years, the sacrificing had stopped. This is what the Native Americans told Charles. This is what Charles says about him in his writings. This is what's right now in the folders of the Phoenix Library. It says that when the sacrificing stopped, that's what upsetted the spirits. Okay, and the tribal people, were asking their elders and asking their leaders, why did you stop the sacrifice? Look what's happened to our land. It has been dried up now. The water has stopped flowing from the mountains. Our canals are being dried up. What is going on here? You stopped the sacrifice. The gods are mad at us. They're pissed. And then out of the blue, from what Charles Holbrook says, from what the Indians told Holbrook, which you can find in a library, in a folder, in a file that's locked away for many years, that the devil came from the east and took these people away. These creatures, these Phoenix Lights, these Quetzalcoatl, these orbs, these squiggly lines that we see in the skies today came from the east, captured these people, took them up, carried them off, never to be seen again. They were survivors to this Holocaust, and they were afraid because they hid in the tombs. They hid in the caves, and they saw what was going on. And when it was all over with, they ran to the people that were surviving, to their Native American, to their shamans, and to their priests, and to the medicine man, and they said, "Look what happened. This is why we shouldn't have stopped the sacrifice." And I don't want to say the chiefs, because that's not a right word, but the leaders of the clans, they all knew that this was wrong, and they knew it was wrong, so they sacrificed themselves on the altars. And the rest of the people that survived this Holocaust, knew that if they were going to continue to live in this valley, continue to live in Phoenix, Arizona, to continue to live on Mount Sepoa, now known as South Mountain, that eventually they would have to go back to war with these spirits of the earth and sky. And they were terrified. So they gathered up all their gold. And Holberg writes in his journals, he says, it's on my website, check it out. He says that their gold was as high as the tallest cactus saguaro and was as big and round as the sun. So I just got alerted that I went offline, but everything looks good. So I'm going to keep going because this is being recorded. So if it did shut down, then I'll post the stuff. I'll post this show back up. But that's what's going on here. So they gather the gold up and they put it in these tombs, all right? And they buried these tombs. And they vowed never to live here in the Valley of the Sun, never to live in Phoenix, Arizona. This was a cursed land. And so they packed up all their belongings and they went back to their homeland. They went back to Mexico, never to return here. And for 400 years, nobody lived in this Valley of the Sun. Nobody lived in this desert. There were tribes on the outskirts of the valley, and they saw the Phoenix lights, and they saw the flying serpents and the orbs and this crazy squiggly lines going on, and they were afraid. And rightly they should be, because look what they carved on the mountains here. Look at the story. Now, we can see this UFO orb. Okay, or this Phoenix light, because it's pulsating, right? See the energy in there? That's what these lines are all about, right? So he's pulsating full of energy, dude. Right? He's got this line that comes down. No, it's not a string from a balloon. It's a line that's coming down, and it's picking this guy up, and it's taking him up into the sky, never to return. That is exactly what this petroglyph is depicting. You can't deny the evidence here. You can't walk away from this. You can't, shrug your shoulders and say, oh, well, that's just a myth. That's just a story. Then why would they do this? Why would they want us to know about this? Why do they teach this from one generation to the next generation to the next generation? Why would they do that? If it wasn't true. That is what's going on here. So I got a lot to cover here. So here we go. Here we go again. All these photographs here is in my book. So here, this is on top of South Mountain. That's Phoenix, Arizona there. All right, this is on a hill. This is on Holberg's Trail. And up high on the hill, overlooking Phoenix, looking north. High up on the hill at the very end of Holberg Trail. Those of you who are in Phoenix and you want to check this out. So at the very end of Holberg Trail, look to your left when you're facing east. Look to your left, you'll see that hill. Okay, climb up on that hill. You will find this rock up here. And look at this. Here's another example. Okay, look at this UFO. And it's picking up a man being taken. Here's another UFO over here on the right. Another entity, and he's picking up a man. And notice how their arms, see how their arms are down? Okay, most of the time their arms are up. Okay, most of the time when you see men, their hands are up, like this one over here to the bottom left. That's a sun marker, but you can see on how his arms are up. But these guys' arms are down, meaning that they're dead. Okay. They are dead, and these entities are coming down and picking these people up. There's a warrior there. There's another UFO entity here on the bottom left area of the petroglyph panel. All of this is in my book. I'm not saying anything that, this isn't new. All this information isn't new. I'm saying what hasn't been told in the last 80 years. I can back it up. Why would the city archaeologist why would the first park ranger, talk about the giants, talk about the gold, Talk about, the tombs that are on South Mountain, if it wasn't true. I mean, he did hiking on South Mountain too, and he did tours, and he was passing out little brochures, little pamphlets. You can find a photographed copy of that on my website down below. All right, you can read his story and say what he says about the giants and says about what the Holcombs are. Now look at this. We have a giant here. You see that? This is carved on South Mountain. And there's plenty of evidence on South Mountain that would suggest somebody big and powerful picked up these stone boulders and covered these tomb entrances and stacked rocks. There's a lot of walls out there, like huge giant walls. These bricks have been shaven down and cut into place and stacked. I mean, it reminds me of Mexico, it reminds me of Egypt. These great big buildings, right? But the CCC went in there and blew them up. Like one side of the wall, it's facing Phoenix. That's all blown to hell, man. There was petroglyphs on that area, on that rock, on that wall, and it's been blown up. But when you climb up on that hill and you look at the other side, you can still see how the stone blocks are still there in place to this day. I mean, they're huge. A few hundred tons at least. Stacked up like a wall. There's a spiral there. I mean, come on, dude. Somebody big and powerful made a wall or some kind of building, some kind of structure up on that hill. And yet the Holcomb Indians, the people who are gone, the people who got taken away, carve giants up on these rocks on South Mountain, formerly known as Mount Sapoa, Mountain of Mercy. You see where I'm going here? See what I'm saying? Why would they take the time in carving this stuff? Oh, it looks like I got a double in here. Why would they say that if it wasn't true, right? Why would they tell their ancestors? Why would they tell, generations? Why would they tell their children, what happened to the people? Why would they keep this story alive? Because this is our history. They didn't have video cameras back then. They had stone boulders to record their sightings on the places on where the event took place at. So when you see a petroglyph panel in this one area of the mountain, that is this place where that is a testimony. That is a history spot. That is a record of what happened in that area. All these mountains around the Valley of the Sun, around Phoenix, Arizona, are scrolls. They are scrolls telling the history of what Phoenix really is, from the Native American Holcomb through their rock art. This is what's really here. These Phoenix lights are not spaceships. These lights we see in the sky are not spaceships. These are living entities. These are living creatures. Each light out there is the entity, is the living being itself. I don't know how many times I got to say this, but that is what's really going on. I mean, I wish we had proof of a craft. Okay, don't get me wrong. The scientists have found 7 Earth-like planets out there, and what's to say there's some kind of advanced civilization out there, and they made some kind of technology, a spaceship to come visit Earth. I'm all for that, dude. I'm all with that, dude. I have an open mind to that. I would love to see that. I would love to have proof on that. But yet there is no evidence. The Indians are not carving spaceships. The Indians are carving creatures, man. Flying snakes, right? Spiral doorways going in and out of the fault lines, man. In and out of the underworld, dude. Technology, spacecrafts, nuts and bolts can't get into a rock, man. Go into the underworld. I'm sorry, that's just impossible, dude. But these creatures can. These beings can. They can absorb themselves into the rock, going down into the underworld. The Native Americans say it's the underworld, but a scientific view, a scientific outlook on this, what are they doing? They're going down into that fault line. Here we go again. Right here. Now, why would they carve a flying snake? Why would they carve a flying snake in the sky? This is on South Mountain, man. This is what I'm talking about. They're not carving spaceships. They're carving living creatures that are flying in the skies. And yes, it's scary. It's very scary. Dude, I have filmed some bizarre stuff, man. And that's what the History Channel told me. They said, Jeff, you're filming some bizarre stuff, man, and the public isn't ready for this. So if you're going to, talk about these things, you must say spaceships. You must say craft, because the public is not ready for this information. And I'm like, dude, man, the shit's here, dude. You better get ready for it, because the stuff is here. That's what's going on, man. Not your bullshit spaceships and alien abduction shit that you can't fucking prove. You can't prove that. You can prove the stuff that's carved on the mountains. You can prove what we're seeing for our own eyes. You can prove what's been written on scrolls from 3,000 to 7,000 years old, dude. Why would they say, that these beings came down out of the heavens and came up out of the earth, dude? Why are these biblical scrolls talking about these pillars of clouds by day and pillars of fire by night, and these wheels within a wheel, and these eyes are going around, and 4 living creatures, man, was interacting with these wheels and the wheels and things like this, dude. This is not spaceships. These are not crafts. These are living entities. What the hell do you think the wise men were following in that scar of the Star of Bethlehem? When Jesus was born. You really think that was a star? No, man. That was one of those entities in the sky, dude. That was one of those creatures lighting up that me and you see in the skies on a regular basis, dude. These creatures light up. They're entities. That's what they were following. Not spaceship. It's not crafts, dude. Living creatures. Biblical shit. That's what we're dealing with here. I'm sorry, and that's one of the reasons why the government won't talk about this, because they don't want you to believe that, God is real, that, and all this stuff. They want to cram religion down your throat, dude. Let's get religion out of these Bibles, dude. Let's get religion out of these texts. Let's read these texts as a type of history of the world. And when you read it like that and you have an open mind, it tells you what these beings are. Native Americans talk about these beings. These ancient scrolls talk about these beings. It's funny, too, because we can go up and we can read these scriptures. We can read about these flying creatures in the sky, pillar of fire by night and pillar of cloud by day, and things like that. And then we can go up on the rocks and we can see the photographs of what the scrolls are talking about. Man, it matches. How can you deny this type of evidence? But a lot of people dismiss this because, it's religion, dude. You can't do that. You can't put religion in with UFOs, dude. You just can't. We don't want that. It's not God, dude. I'm sorry, but it's aliens, yo. It's green guys. They're killing my dogs. They're taking my cattle. That's what's going on here. It's not God, dude. No, man. It's what these creatures are talking about. What we read in these scrolls. As far as the Sumerian text, the Anunnaki text, the biblical scrolls, the seams, the Dead Sea Scrolls, words of the heavenly lights, dude. Come on. It's in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Look at this giant here on this petroglyph. Look at how many fingers he has. Does he have 6 fingers? Yes, he does. This is carved on South Mountain. Here we go again. This is on Holbrook Trail, South Mountain, Phoenix, Arizona. Look at that serpent there. Look at that Quetzalcoatl. You see that? Why would they be carving a flying serpent? Look at that. There's like a tribal leader there. He's in full headdress attire, and then there's a goat. There's a goat there, dude. Right? And the tribal leader, he's looking up. He's looking up at that flying snake in the sky. And that's the reason why these petroglyphs are carved high up on hilltops, right? Because you have to look up to see them. Because the artist wants you to look up. He's telling you, look, this event took place up high. It's in the sky. That's why these petroglyphs sometimes are carved so high up, is because the information he's telling you, you have to look at the whole landscape here, not just the art, but the whole landscape. And it will tell you that serpent, that's what this petroglyph is. It's carved on Holbrook Trail at the end, going east. Look up high on that boulder, because when at the end of that trail, there's a big, stack of rocks and boulders. You can't go over them, dude. Look up. You'll find the spirals. And you'll find this guy up there looking at a flying snake, dude. because that is what he recorded. That is what he saw in the sky right there at South Mountain. Now look at this here. Here we have a guy, or lizard man, so to speak, and he's going into this hole in the stone. This is in South Mountain. Now, at one time, it's really hard to see, but at one time, you can see on how they carved a spiral around this hole. Okay, so it's a doorway, and this man, this entity, this being, is going into that doorway. He's going into the stone. Okay, and then there's a coyote there, forever waiting, forever looking up, waiting for these entities to come out, waiting for these beings to come out. And then over here on the bottom, that is one of the entities. Right there. See that? See that squiggly line thing? That's what he's waiting for. He's waiting for that squiggly worm-looking thing to come up out of the rock, to come up out from the underworld, to come up from the energy line, the fault line. Now, this is a panel on Holbrook Trail. Now, look at this. Look at this closely here. Let's examine this. Let's start on the bottom here. This being with 4 arms, okay? He's shooting at a serpent man. See that? Half snake, half man, right? So, I do find, like, there was another entity race here, and they had 4 arms, as this petroglyph is depicting. Now, this is very hard to find. These petroglyph panels depicting these stick figure men with 4 arms and these magical weapons are very hard to find on South Mountain, but they are there. There's one where it's actually they're hunting with this Native American with a bow and arrow, a Hohokam Indian, and they're actually shooting. They're shooting at a dinosaur. Okay, they're shooting at a dinosaur on the east side of South Mountain. Now, about 15 years ago, in Mesa, on the east side of Phoenix, Arizona, around in that area, the archaeologists had to be called out because the construction workers were building a new apartment complex, and they ran into some dinosaur bones. All right, so the archaeologists had to go out there, remove the bones, and document it, and this and that. And it's the exact same area, location where that petroglyph panel was depicting an Indian with a bow and arrow and one of these 4 stick figure men shooting at a dinosaur. Okay, I thought that was really coincidence, and it's just really fascinating, and just proves that man was walking with the dinosaurs. And there's a lot of other dinosaur panels, petroglyphs out here on South Mountain, but we won't get into that because I don't have any photographs of that today. You can find it on my Facebook page. I think there might be some in my book. But yeah, the dinosaurs were here. Man walked with the dinosaurs, and these entities were shooting with man at these dinosaurs. Okay, so here we go again. Here we go with this entity, and he's shooting up at a flying serpent. Now look over here, okay? So this part to the right has been chipped out. That piece of the puzzle is missing. But you can tell that there's a Hohokam Indian, and he's got a bow and arrow, and he's shooting at something up. There's a man over here to his left, and he's watching, maybe his son. Now look over here to the right. And here we have a bunch of flying serpents. Look at this. We have a bunch of flying serpents in the sky. We have this man here. He's shooting at them. He's shooting at these flying serpents. There's some coyotes there, things like that. There's an orb over here. Okay, now look at these coyotes on this line. Okay, over here to the left of the stick figure man with the 4 arms is a spiral doorway. Okay, this guy is holding a doorway, holding a spiral. Okay, and then over here to the right, this guy's shooting like this blowgun or something in that to the left of that direction. Now, I went over there because usually when the petroglyphs are facing a direction, that's the direction that they're talking about. So these coyotes, for instance, are looking to the right, and that's where these serpents are being looked at, is over here to the right. Well, this is located on Holbrook Trail on South Mountain, and to the right of this area, there is an open area and 2 pyramid structure hills there that have tombs in them. Okay, and that's where that last panel that we saw of the man looking up at a flying serpent, all that area, that whole area there is about the flying serpents. That whole area is talking about the flying serpents, Quetzalcoatl, the flying snakes, the flying worms. Okay, and that's what is oriented in that direction towards that area. So that's where this event took place at, to the right in that area canyon where the two pyramids are and where these flying serpents can be seen at. There's an orb there, and the coyotes are also facing that direction also. So they want us to look in that direction. Okay, that's how you read these petroglyph panels. All right, you want to look on the direction on where they're facing. Now, this one here, over here to the far left, this guy, he's standing, he's like a giant, or he's standing on somebody's shoulders, and he's got this flute or this weapon or dart weapon, who knows what it is, but he's facing that way. Now, when he went that way, what had happened? The CCC got a hold of that panel and blew the shit out of it, dude. So that story is missing. But I can tell you that I bet you that thing was talking about, that panel was talking about a tomb that's in that hillside, because that too is a pyramid. And right behind that panel there is like a hilltop pyramid. And coming in and out of that hilltop. Coming in and out of that pyramid hill is like a bunch of bees, dude. All right, so the bees are going down, into that pyramid, going down into a little crack of the rock. Now, this is interesting too, because how the archaeologists in Egypt used to find some of their tombs is they followed the bees. All right, there's like sacred ointments and resins and oils and things down in these tombs. Okay, and it tracks these bees. So these bees find a way into these tombs because it's nice and damp and warm, and they can make a beehive there, and there's stuff for them to feed on because all these oils and things like that. And so these bees are going into these tombs, and that's how some of these archaeologists in Egypt used to find some of these tombs, is they follow the bees. So you see a land, you see this hilltop, and these bees are coming and going out of this crack into the ground. Well, that's a good place to dig, dude, because there's something there. And that's exactly what's going on here. These bees, this panel is right in front of this pyramid. All right, it's right in front of this pyramid. Okay, and there's bees, massive bees, man, coming and going out of this crack into that pyramid hill. There's a tomb there. There is something there. I can guarantee it. And I only wish that we can dig up some of these tombs. Hopefully, maybe in my generation, we will see it, because eventually, dude, I'm here to get this hasn't been talked about in so long, in 80 years, dude. After Charles Holbrook, all his information was buried, not talked about, put in the folder, all right, because they don't want people going up there, digging up the tombs, finding the gold. They don't want this information to get out. So after Holbrook died, they don't talk about this anymore. That's the reason why the park ranger doesn't talk about this anymore. It's because there's gold there, dude, and they don't want you to go out there and dig it up. But I say we at least want to dig up at least one tomb, all right, because this is our history. Leave the other tombs alone. There's a lot of tombs up there. But let's just open up at least one and just see what's there. Okay, so in my book, I describe on how there's this one tomb, and it's very possible that the Spanish conquistadors, there's evidence that the Spanish conquistadors was here in Phoenix, Arizona, that carved their testimonies on Phoenix, Arizona. Look at my book. There's tons of evidence there. And it talks about on how the Spanish conquistadors actually used a tomb left over from the Indians to bury some of their dead, and how there was breastplates on the sides of the walls going into this tomb, and how this tomb there's a big there's a big boulder that's in this hole, and this old tree concealing this tomb. So it's in my book. Check it out. So yeah, there's tombs up there. That's the reason why, they don't want you to go up there and digging. But I say, let's at least open up one tomb, though, especially like the one that's on my website, the photograph. You can see that there's something clearly buried there. Let's open up that. It's in a pyramid. Let's open up that tomb and see what's inside. It's our history, dude. We need to do this, okay? At least one tomb. Let's do it. Somebody's out there has got to do this, dude. We got to get these tombs open. So, Okay, so rods. Controversial subject, but here again we have rods that are carved on the rock there. You see that? Now, why would the Indians be carving rods on the rocks? Now, a lot of people say that these rods are just bugs, that their eyes are seeing bugs, that the cameras are catching bugs. And some of it is. Some of these people who claim they're catching rods are bugs, okay? But some of it isn't. Rods are real. Rods exist. All right. And as far as I got with some of these Native Americans who would tell me is they use these beans, these rods for a type of healing. How they captured them and placed them and held them and used them for healing. That's still a mystery. But rods are real and rods are carved on the mountains. Now, let's talk about the giants. Yeah, I'm running out of time. There's a lot of information we need to go over. So over here, we're looking at the Superstition Mountains on the far west of Phoenix, Arizona. Now, a lot of people, are interested in the Superstition Mountains because of the Lost Dutchman's gold mine. All right, so everyone's looking for that gold mine. But this goes deeper, all right, according to the myths and the stories in Phoenix, Arizona, that at the time, there was bloodthirsty giants here, and there's tons of carvings of giants throughout Phoenix, Arizona, that are talking about these giants, that are depicting these giants. And there's evidence, like I said before, of these giants being here in Phoenix that were on the mountains. There's proof of this, okay? And so what the story says on these, on the Superstition Mountains out here, is when the flood was coming, when Noah's flood was coming, the giants were afraid. Okay, and the lead giant told his people to run up on this rock, run up on this huge boulder. And this lead giant used his power to raise this boulder up, but the water kept coming. He used this power again to raise this boulder up, but the water kept coming. He used his powers so much that by the time he was done, this boulder had turned into a massive mountain, but the water kept coming. And at his last bit of strength, because he didn't want his people to drown, he immortalized his people and turned them all to stone. And when he did, that's when the water stopped. And to this day, you can see the watermark that when the flood water stopped, you can see the watermark there where it stopped, the water line there. And then up on top, you can see the giants. The giants are still there today, turned in stone. All those are what the Native Americans, all those peaks up on top, those are all giants that are turned to stone. Now, on the bottom right here of this mountain, the bottom left, there's a major giant there. There's other giants along this mountain here that when you drive up on it, you can clearly see, how these were big stone structured, they were giants, according to the Indians. And then on the left there, you can see this one depiction of a giant, and he's like in the praying mode. He's kind of like this, right? And so yeah, that is the story of the Superstition Mountains. That is the story of the giants. Here again, we can see on how a lot of people would think, oh, it's a spaceship, but it's not. This is a creature. This is an entity. All right, he's in his barbell. He's in a barbell. There's lots of barbell formations. I've found many barbells in the sky in Phoenix, Arizona. And this is what it's depicting here. And there's a guy inside this entity. So this entity is coming down and absorbing this man. That's what this petroglyph is talking about. And you have some orbs there on either side of the barbell and a man looking out through a window. So as he was being carried away and lifted up into the sky. A lot of people would say, oh, it's a spaceship. But it's not a spaceship. These things are alive. They're creatures. This entity came down, absorbed around this man, and took him up into the sky. That's exactly what's going on. Okay, let's take a short break, and we'll get into the UFO that I filmed in 2008. So, oh yeah, we still haven't done the tour yet. Oh my God. Yeah, so let's get into that tour. Let's take a break here, and we'll get into that tour. Oh my God, dude, this is a long show.
All right, you know about the Phoenix Lights. We're going to be talking a little bit about them, the latest theory as we celebrate the anniversary, even though we've seen things that may prove it otherwise than a UFO. Stay with us.
March 13th, 1997. You guys all remember these lights here? It was 14 years ago tonight that phones and newsrooms and 911 call centers were ringing off the hook. The reason? Suspicious lights hovering over the Arizona sky. They came to be known as the Phoenix Lights, and over the years there have been many theories as to what the lights were. But to this day, the identity of the Phoenix Lights remain a mystery. The experience, some say, was just one of many major UFO sightings, and they say we've been visited for centuries. What proof? Well, one local UFO expert says you just have to look at the mountains.
Oh, well, I've been seeing UFOs for about 15, 16 years now.
It's become a lifelong passion for Phoenix resident Jeff Woolwine.
I do a lot of hiking, a lot of research. I've dedicated 5 years of my life into this type of research. We'll be heading right up there, and you can see some petroglyphs with some spirals there. And when we get closer, you'll be able to interpretate, the meaning of it.
Woolwine was one of many residents to see the Phoenix Lights 14 years ago. But it didn't stop there. He's documented years of sightings on his website, going beyond just the traditional lights in the sky research.
Doing my investigations, I'm coming to find out that the petroglyphs here in the Valley of the Sun are talking about what we're seeing in the sky today as far as UFOs and strange things in the sky.
Woolwine says he's found it's been happening for centuries.
You see, they didn't have video cameras back then. They had stone boulders to record their sightings on what they saw back in their time.
And the evidence is written all over our Arizona mountains.
Here on what we call A Mountain, we find this petroglyph here. And it seems to represent a family. And they clearly have their hands up in the air as to say they're in the appeasement pose, and they're looking up at two orbs in the sky. This mountain is very active for UFO sightings. Most of the time when I come out here, we do see some orbs up in the sky.
Woolwine says the best time to see the orbs is early in the morning or late afternoon.
The more you see it, the more you're intrigued. You want to see more of them. And I really think that it's only a matter of time when everybody will know that, yes, there is something here. Yes, we are being visited. And we just have to ask ourselves, okay, we're not the only advanced civilizations in the universe. What happens next?
Give me that money.
Don't call it a comeback.
Right?
And that was for, did you have 300?
300.
Okay.
Yeah, that sealed the deal. I just won.
300. All right, Mike, you have control.
Give me dates for 200. I should have started with dates.
The Phoenix Lights were seen in what year? 1989 or 1997?
97. Shout out to Jeff Woolwine.
1997. He.
These rocks, I believe, were placed here.
I see some petroglyphs right there.
Yeah, we're gonna see some glyphs right here.
Look at those.
Right there. This is actually what the channel panel here. Here's we can probably show it right there. You know you're around the sacred area when you start to find pottery shells.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
Get up there so I can take a picture of you with it.
This is a rather good spot.
sure.
There you go.
Okay, I wasn't really ready.
She's sitting right in front of a spiral too, by the way.
Yeah, she is.
here we have the barbell formations. We see a lot of petroglyphs and a lot of UFO entities here in Phoenix that represent the barbells. Okay, we have some orbs up there. We have another orb there. Right now we have this serpent over there to the left. Okay, so this is where I've recorded a lot of serpents here in the valley, and that's what that is representing. We also see that type of carving in Mexico. All right, that same serpent. Now this is a light and shadow panel. Now what I mean by that is during the equinox and the solstice, the sun will travel, and you see this stone here? This stone has been placed here on purpose. When the sun comes up this way, it will cast a shadow. All right, it will cut through the serpent. All this is in my book. It'll cut through the serpent, and then eventually it will come down, all the way down to here. It will match this coyote here, and it will come all the way down here, meaning that this is the doorway. This is the major doorway for these spirits. Now, I think during the solstice, it's actually an Indian profile face. So we have two different light and shadows that happen each on different equinox and solstice. We have the regular shadow that comes this way, and then we actually have a shadow of a profile face coming this way. Yeah, she's right in front of the an orb, right there, an orb light. And then over here, in this area here, oh, okay, also look at this now. You see the way this rock is?
Yep.
Okay, now look how it's cut. Okay, this is cut. Actually, what we're looking at is a snake. Okay, this is a snake face, a snake head. This is his mouth. All right, I'm sitting in his mouth now. He's eating a stone. This stone has been placed here also. Now, at one time, I did see a man carved on here, representing that this serpent is eating a man. I can't find it right now. But there was a carving of a man. This could have been it right here. But they cut and shaved all of this to represent a snake. So the snake is coming out of the rock. He's eating this boulder. Now on the other side over here, we have these spirals. We have a spiral, right, representing a doorway. And then we have some energy lines, or energy type markers, okay, representing the energy. And we have a coyote looking this way. Now, these spirits, these UFOs, they come and go from rocks, okay, from stones. Now, when you look in between this boulder here, you will see an entity UFO right in the middle there. And that's what it's representing. So it's telling us that this crack is the doorway for that spirit. Neat, isn't it?
Jim. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
There's another one right over here.
Yeah.
And then on the other side,
Right,
if you go on the back side, yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty cool.
There's a bunch right over there too.
Nothing?
You see
So
these
just-
this hill right here?
Yeah.
If you
There's
search,
a bunch on that too.
if you search on your local bookstores here on the internet stuff, Petroglyphs in the Sky, I documented and photographed all the meanings about the petroglyphs here in
Oh, you
that book.
do?
Yeah.
What's the site?
Petroglyphs in the Sky.
SKY?
Yeah, just how it sounds. It's all run together. Petroglyphs in the Sky. And you can find it on Kindle, you can find it on ebooks.
Have you been up to Square Cross?
I've heard of it. I haven't been
There's
there
a
yet.
lot. There's a lot of petroglyphs up there.
Right, yeah, that's a big sacred and holy area right in there, yeah.
Probably the same generation as these guys.
Yeah, same holocom era.
So you study the symbols and stuff?
That's right, yeah. In that book, I go into the lost history of Phoenix that has been lost for the last 80 years.
Yeah.
I talk about the holocoms, the first park ranger that was here.
I'm gonna send a picture of to mommy and tell her what this is.
It's not a frightening. It's not a frightening lizard man.
Right, there you go.
Or did he just eat like the dog?
He eats God. Oh, wow, look at these stairs. Well, I know they built these stairs, but this is cool.
What is this right here?
What was that supposed to be?
That's like one of those spirits.
Oh.
Oh, there's the
Okay, babe. I want you up here before we start talking.
Okay.
Is this? Oh, it is. This is the one. Yeah. Okay. What is? What's under that UFO? Is that a goat or a coyote? The one that's right there.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that again.
Wait, I want to see the
Okay, record.
thing.
Oh, it was on. Record is red, right?
Yeah, you've already. Okay, you already recorded. Okay, so for years, all right, centuries, even to this day, it's always been a controversy that the Spanish conquistadors ever arrived here in Phoenix, Arizona. But here we have a carving of the Petroglyphsinthesky. Okay, now there's a date there of 1539, I believe it is. Now,
Okay.
now this is all controversial. I mean, to the archaeologists to this day, does not admit that this is real. Now, the first park ranger, okay, his name was Charles Holbrook. This is all in the book. It talks about what he accomplished.
Sit down.
Now, back in the early or the late 30s, the city of Phoenix was going to come up here and remove this stone.
Wow.
And he was like, "No, you are not touching this stone." He actually pulled guns on the construction workers that he's going to remove this stone. It was a big deal at that time.
And who is this? The first park ranger?
Charles Holbrook, the first park ranger. Yes, he understood South Mountain. He understood the natives. The natives confided in him on the tombs that were here, the gold that was here, the spirits that is protecting the gold, the tombs, and the sacrifice that went on here, and the Phoenix lights, and all this. The Indians confided into Holbrook, and so he knew what was going on here. Matter of fact, he was in charge of keeping people away from the tombs, from digging up the tombs. And so the city of Phoenix was going to come in here and remove this. And he pulled guns on the construction workers, and it was a big deal. And a few days later, they had a big meeting in the city of Phoenix.
That's really cool, isn't it?
And they said, "Okay, okay, Charles, we're
Pretty
going
little
to do
view
something
of
forever protect
California's
this."
state, Arizona.
Hey, babe. We're gonna do something to forever protect this. And so, at that time, Charles thought it was gonna be a gunfight up here. You know, he was about ready to go to war over the stone. He had no idea what the city of Phoenix had in mind. So he was up there getting ready to ambush them, and they came up here with their trucks, and they were the ones that erected these bars up here. They put these bars on here. They put this concrete. You can see this is 1930s concrete here. They constructed this whole wall of concrete. Look how old this concrete is.
Yeah.
They made these steps coming up here, right? They forever immortalized this area here because of Charles Holbrook. He was the one that kept this story alive.
Good.
Mm-hmm. All of this is in the book. It's all documented.
So is this the Charles Holbrook that Holbrook is named after?
No.
Much older then.
Yeah.
Just this question I was
Yeah,
curious.
that's a good question too. She was asking me about it too. You know.
Hey, it doesn't hurt to ask.
No. Sure, right? Mhm. That's right.
Wow,
So
that's cool.
Basically, what all this is this is the first carvings of the.
I have a question about something that I see right here. Does it look like something's been chipped out right here?
Yeah, when you notice around all petroglyph sites, pretty much some of the story has been removed. Some people like to take them home. Some people like to take the story away. You know, because at the time they wanted to make this a family park. So depictions of demonic creatures and sacrifice just didn't add up to the family type atmosphere. So they had to clean up the park. That's their little word they like to call it. Their special
Clean up
word.
the
They
family
clean
park.
up the park, right? Which
Somebody put
means
that there, baby.
remove petroglyphs, remove the meanings of the petroglyphs, remove the demonic figures, you know, and the sacrificing things that were being done here.
That's called graffiti.
Yeah, that is.
I want to take this home. Pretty.
Okay, yeah, so, you know, for years too, even with Holbrook back in the day, it was just a myth that the Spanish erected 4 crosses. And until one day he was high up, his story goes on to say, I found some paperwork on Holbrook. And he says he was high up on the summit, and he looked down on the sun-blackened rocks, and lo and behold, he saw the 4 crosses. And he says it must have took a mighty army to construct these crosses because they were so huge. And for years, he kept this a secret only to himself, until later on the city of Phoenix made a new map of South Mountain Park, and on that map they put a hill there. And he made the biggest mistake of his life. He told the city of Phoenix and everybody, look, you know what's on that hill? There's 4 crosses on that hill. From the Spanish conquistadors. And so later on, a few nights later, some vandals came up looking for gold. They destroyed the crosses. They dug a hole looking for the gold. They didn't find anything, and they just left a mess rock pile. He was pissed. Okay, I'm getting to that. He was pissed, man, and he wanted the city of Phoenix to come back up here and put those crosses back up here. But the end result was the city of Phoenix did not want to do a dime on it. He said, but if you and your friends want to go up there and make the crosses again, he goes, you guys are welcome to it. So the story goes on to say that it was like a bunch of ants going up this hill and with concrete and rocks and rebuilding the crosses, and the women and some of the children would be down on the bottom with sandwiches and lemonades, and the Boy Scouts were helping him at the time, and he had all these friends, and they made all this construction work, and that's when the story stops. Okay, that's when the story ends. And then later, the city of Phoenix then came out and put another map saying, okay, the first map, the crosses was over here in this area. The second map, they say the crosses are over there in that area. All right, so now there's 2 conflicting stories here. All right, so I've been to each spot. I've been spending years looking for these crosses. I've examined what the city of Phoenix says that they are. I've examined that area, nothing there. I come over here, but at that time, this mountain used to extend way out further, okay? And there used to be an airlight beacon up there, and right there where the Wrestler's Roost is and stuff. So this mountain was way extended, but they blew all that up. They destroyed all this area to put all these houses in and the Wrestler's Roost and everything else. And that's when the Indians were so pissed off about this. Man. Right, you know, and I think because the stone is here, the crosses would probably be over there on the east side. And I think when they destroyed the stuff to build the houses and to build the rest of the Jews, they destroyed the crosses too. Mm-hmm. That's my conclusion.
Very sad.
Because I haven't found them, and I've been looking for years, man. You know.
That's very sad.
I'm coming to the conclusion. Yeah, you know. But even still, like, all right. So if the crosses were, I mean, if the hill is still here. Okay, then we should find some kind of evidence of this concrete. You know, we should find the remembrance of the crosses. We should find the stones. You know, if the crosses were destroyed over years, I've been looking for that too, just on a hunch. You know, hopefully, I'm still hoping I'll find it. You know, but I haven't yet. I've been up all these hills. You know, all these hills looking. No, I haven't found it yet. So the only conclusion is they blew it up and they were making the restaurant.
Most likely.
Yeah. Sucks, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Okay, let me turn it off now.
Okay. Talk about these right there?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a glyph right here of what looks like a lizard man. Okay, he's in the appeasement pose or the worship pose. Right, he's oriented this way. Right? And we have these carvings here, okay? Possibly a UFO. It's not really a spiral, okay? Because it's not connecting, right? Then we have another orb here. Now, when I was filming the lights out here in 2004, when I zoom in on them, sometimes there'd be a black dot right in the middle of these orange amber lights, okay? And I believe that's what it's representing, okay? Here we have another one, not quite a spiral. Here, when people start saying, oh, that's balloons, okay, here we have a cluster that could represent a balloon.
You brought that up.
Yeah.
I said it looked like balloons. That's supposed to say that.
Here's a cluster, okay, and this is the entity, okay?
It looks like an angel.
They morph, and they change, and they shapeshift, and they cluster that video I shot the other day. You can see him coming out.
I don't think he saw that one.
Going back into each other. That's why
It looks like some kind of Skittles all clustered together.
Okay.
is representing there. Okay, so we had two, in my book I explained we had two padres that came around with the whole time. And one padre was here to rip off the Indians, okay? And the story goes on to say that, in my book, it goes on to say that the Indians eventually ambushed him, dismembered his body, and buried him over there on Four Cross Hill. And the story goes on to say that his ghost, the Padre's ghost, is still here protecting his gold, because no one to this day, supposedly until I came around, nobody to this day has found Padre's cave. And he says to the right person, this ghost will present where this Padre cave is. The story of the ghost goes on to say sometimes he'll follow you with footprints in the sand. He'll walk behind you. And I go into where Padre's cave is in with the book also. So that Padre, he was sacrificed. He was murdered because he was ripping off the people. Now there was another Padre that came around and he saw what was going on here on the glyphs. He saw the sacrifice. He saw the demonic creatures being carved here, and he came around and he blessed most of these petroglyphs around here, because he knew in his religion, if you will, that this is one of the spots where the fallen angels were cast down at, and he understood that this is one of the spots where the Nephilim were. So he came around, and this is why you see crosses. When he blessed certain rocks, he put crosses on them. And this is one of the crosses from the Padre. So if you notice, these aren't spirals, but on the back of this stone here is a huge cut dip. And in that cut dip is the spiral, representing the doorway. So the Native Americans, the Indians say that when you see, look at that squirrel.
Squirrel.
Where?
Look that way.
Ah!
That's a big one.
Oh!
Squirrel, yeah.
Oh!
That's a big one.
Yeah, I see him, but I can't.
Yeah, he's gone over the hill.
Yeah, he's like, you're not going to get me.
But the Indians say that the spirals where the tracks are the doorways. These spirals that you see with cracks and crevices, and the spirals next to it, that's the emergence point for these fair things. Are you still recording here?
Yes, I'm getting a better angle.
Well, it's on
Okay, I lied. I was going to chase a squirrel, but...
what I just talked about is in my first book with photographs. You want to chase that squirrel? Because that's where we're going.
Oh, is this where we're going?
Yeah, we're walking around that way.
He knew that. The squirrel knew that.
You know, that's why he's going that way.
Uh-huh.
You want to see him? You come over here.
Careful, huh? It's easier this way, Dave.
Actually, follow him. Follow Jeff. Follow Jeff. He said it's easier that way.
Well, I don't know where he went.
Might do it, Dave.
No, the squirrel.
Look probably up into the rocks and there's a little hidey hole.
Well, he got gone pretty good, because I don't see evidence of him moving or out. Yeah, she's okay.
Be careful with that plant right there. It'll reach out and bite you.
Where did you go? Well, that's a neat cactus.
And that's kind of represents the pulsating. This is really hard to see, but it's like a cluster again. And then on the other side,
Yeah, it's not really picking up that good.
on the
But
other side is a great spiral.
Yeah, it's a big one.
And notice how the spiral ends down.
Yeah.
Okay, so this would be the area for the doorway. Not the rock itself, or it could be the rock itself, but more or less, but more likely, the ground here in this area. This is the doorway where they come and go from, out from the underworld. This area here.
trying to see if I can sense any energy, and I don't. Well, if I do, I don't notice it.
I think so.
No, because he told me, like I said, when I was talking to him, he told me, what to
See,
watch.
look, that looks like that's
Yeah.
that looks like that's been missing.
Like you said, a lot of it's been taken out.
Yeah.
I believe that too. And if you look the way these rocks are strewn about, this looks like it was destroyed as well.
This is all been collapsed on each other.
Yep.
Can you get these? Can you get that right there, real quick?
Yeah.
Are you recording?
Yeah.
Then we have a
Another
living man
man.
and another type of pulsating orb here. And then down when we come down through this way over here.
Sorry, there's a bunch more spirals in here.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. I wanted to show you bottom first.
Yeah.
Oh, that's. Okay.
All right, so there's that one I wanted to point out. Okay, so like here, okay, it looks like there's three worms, three orbs connected together like a worm. Okay, I filmed that in the sky before. We have some more clusters here, okay, that to some could represent balloons, but I'm sure the Holocaust didn't have balloons back then. They saw, so this is what they saw in the sky, and this is what they carved. Here we have another orb here, and another orb here. Unfortunately, this is missing, so we don't know the rest of the story here.
Over here.
Then we have some orbs there. Right. Awesome, isn't it? Yeah.
What's boggling my mind is the amount of destruction that you see with these things.
I know.
Yeah. I know. Okay, so back up to the top. That's neat. Yeah, those what, two Mustangs and a Red Baron following them?
That's cool.
That is neat. You don't see that every day.
Well, the Red Baron was blowing out smoke as it was coming up.
Yeah.
I freaking missed it. I'm trying to get it on my camera, but...
B-17?
Looks like it.
Yeah, that's the one. They go out there to that Mesa Air Force Base or whatever. You can actually take rides on that if you want to pay for it. Yeah.
I heard, and it's not really pricey either. It's only like a few $100 from what I heard. But if it's just you, they won't go out. They have to get a group.
Yeah, it's a group, right?
Going to North Dakota.
Okay, so the internet kicked us off. This is the second half of the first show. It was the first half of the show. And yeah. So this is the second half. So I apologize. The internet kicked us off. So but it is still recording. And after the show is all over with, I'll post the full show on the Facebook page. So it won't be cut in half that way. So, okay. So let's look at this UFO, this entity that I filmed in 2018. It's one of my favorite. And so let's check it out.
seen one at night before.
It's not really night yet, but
Well, I know, but I've never seen an orange one.
yeah, that's weird. That is really weird.
I'm not getting it on my phone. That's weird. I can't get it. Where'd it go?
It disappeared.
It disappeared.
It's gone.
Well, damn.
Yeah, that was crazy, wasn't it? So we were like, I can't remember where we were. We're like not at our apartment in Phoenix, and they were actually coming out of the dollar store. And I always have my video camera with me, so if anything happens, I'm gonna catch it. So I saw this light out there, so I automatically started filming it, and that's what I got. Okay, so sorry the internet went down. This is the second part. After we're done here, I'll upload the whole show, so it won't be in parts like this. So thank you so much for joining me tonight, and looking forward to hearing from you. Make sure you like and follow my page. Tell your friends about this. Petroglyphs in the Sky, Jeff Woolwine. Find me on YouTube, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky. And tell your friends. Check out my website. Email me, message me. Tell me about your UFO videos, and tell me your stories and things like that. And if it's good, if I like it, then I'll air it on the show here. And thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Thanks again.
until the next exciting episode, keep your eyes in the skies. You never know what you might see.